A mother and son found dead, millions of dollars in missing money, and the downfall of a family dynasty. The saga of the Murdaugh family attracted national attention after disbarred South Carolina lawyer Alex Murdaugh was accused of killing his wife and son.
Every day, almost, since the homicides, something new has happened, and I think that's just captivating to people.
Murdaugh was charged with 2 counts of murder in July 2022, after his wife Maggie and son Paul were found fatally shot a year earlier at the family's hunting estate. He's pleaded not guilty to the charges and will face trial in Colleton County, South Carolina. Here's what you need to know about the case against Alex Murdaugh. The first stage of the trial is jury selection, but because of the prominent family name, selecting 12 jurors that aren't familiar with the Murdaugh family or the case will be a challenge.
Jury selection is just going to be incredibly tough. Everybody knows the Murdaughs.
That's because the legacy and legal influence of the Murdaugh family in southeastern South Carolina dates back to the early 1900s. The family established one of the state's dominant law firms in 1910, and 3 generations of Murdaughs have presided as solicitors over the 14th Judicial Circuit, which covers 5 counties in South Carolina.
From, 1920, when the first Murdaugh ran for office, until, 2006, they knew every law enforcement officer in their region.
The local agencies that first arrived at the crime scene recused themselves from the case because of the family's close ties to law enforcement.
They have this pretty serious reputation. Even now, even with Alex Murdaugh in jail for more than a year, people are still intimidated by this family because they've known them their whole life.
Richard Alex Murdaugh, are you guilty or not guilty of the felonies wherein you stand indicted?
Not guilty.
While investigating the double homicide, law enforcement discovered evidence of a string of alleged financial crimes.
He was a personal injury lawyer. His clients were some of the poorest of the poor and the most badly injured. And he's accused of siphoning money off of judgments that he won on behalf of his clients.
Murdaugh has pleaded not guilty to most of those charges. But in a filing submitted to the court, prosecutors state the alleged wrongdoing that led to these charges gave him motive for murder.
Alex was under a huge amount of pressure to turn over to the court evidence of his finances in a boat crash case involving his son. And prosecutors say that if he had done that, it would have led to the unraveling of this alleged scheme of crime that he'd been running for a decade. And that was enough to set him off that night and kill his wife and son.
Prosecutors state that after Maggie and Paul were found dead, people immediately treated defendant as the victim of an unspeakable tragedy. The day of reckoning vanished. The defense has called this theory illogical and implausible.
The prosecution has a tough climb here. They have got to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Alex alone committed these murders in a circumstantial case and in a case where the evidence is in some question in some cases.
The shirt Murdaugh wore on the night of the murders is expected to be a key piece of evidence in the trial. According to court documents, it had microscopic amounts of blood spatter, something prosecutors say indicates Murdaugh was close to one of his family members when they were shot. But in a separate filing, defense attorneys claimed that the state used unreliable methods to test the shirt, ultimately making it impossible to test further.
It could help the prosecution if their expert is able to say, yes, there was this high-velocity impact spatter on the shirt, but it opens up a chance for the defense because they were never able to have their own expert independently look at it.
Instead, the prosecution could lean on digital evidence to help prove their case. Court documents filed by the defense describe a video recorded on Paul's phone saying he can be heard having a lighthearted conversation with his mom and dad in the background, which places Murdaugh at the hunting estate a little over an hour before he called 911, which conflicts with the timing of his alibi.
The defense has said, yeah, maybe he was imprecise about, who he saw and when, but what that video shows is them laughing and talking with one another. So this was a loving family. And you're going to tell me that after this video was recorded, Alex Murdaugh shot his wife and kid? That's unacceptable.
The trial is expected to last several weeks, and prosecutors are seeking life imprisonment for Murdaugh.
It's incredible to think about. The family built this name for 100 years, and the reason it will be remembered is because of Alex and what he's alleged to have done.